Welcome back. You're watching Beef TV. It's all happening here on the brightest Super People's Day. And now, with incidents of cattle duffing, farm theft and trespassing on the rise, imagine being alerted by phone notification to any unwanted movements on your property 24 hours a day, even at night.
Well, today at Beef, two highly regarded ag techs in Australia are joining forces to give farmers better visibility of their assets 24/7. John Hill, Andrew Coppin, thanks for joining us.
Great to be here.
Thanks, Adam.
Now, John, how does your technology help landholders expand here?
Yeah, so for Landwatch, it's all about giving people an opportunity to keep an eye on what's important. And that literally means keeping an eye on it, using cameras to see those areas they wish they could see. So like, for example, you look out in the centre ring there's a lot of people there, which means there's not many people back at the station. So that means that they can have an opportunity to look at their phone and see what's happening back home. Like right now, has someone just driven across the front grid? Or is someone pulling up to your fuel station? Or is someone walking around the shed? You just don't know these things unless you've got cameras there to keep an eye on it. And not just cameras in the greater sense of I want to record everything. You want alerts from that so that you can get an alert to say someone has come across the grid or someone's coming into the shed.
So Farmbot, a totally separate ag tech. Let's just talk about your story quickly, Andrew. 4,000 cattle and sheep stations, not only successful in Australia but also in the US. What does Farmbot do?
Yeah, well, again, great to be here, girls. I brought you along
a bit of promo,
bit of Farmbot swag.
Stop it!
Oh, pink's my colour.
Can't leave beef without it.
Nice.
But yeah, obviously Farmbot's been around a few years now. This will be our fourth beef event, and we're specialists in remote monitoring of water and infrastructure on cattle stations around the country, and you know, every now on, as you mentioned, 4,000 plus stations looking after, you know, millions of beef cattle. And every 6 months we sort of survey our customers and ask them, you know, what are the other things that you really want? And so it was really interesting that about 12 months ago now, the number one item was farm security, station security. So we started looking around for, you know, really good providers and partners that we could work with. And that's when we came across, you know, the team at Landwatch, and you know, it's such a great pleasure to be here launching it today.
So how's the partnership going to work? We've got the security, we've got Farmbots tech. How's it coming together?
Yeah, so it should work really well. And the main thing, once Andrew approached us, we went straight to our clients and said, is this something you guys want? And they came back and said, absolutely, because they love the My Farmbot portal, where they can view all of their Farmbot infrastructure around the property. And they said, if we can have our cameras, so when they get the alerts or when they want to view it, integrated through that, then that's a dream come true. So hopefully what we'll see is cameras and water monitoring all going to the one portal, and the My Farmbot portal. That's the plan, and then it just makes it so much more seamless for people.
There's plenty of monitoring services out there, and I know the one we use on our property, it shows you everything that moves. You know, there's a stiff breeze and you see it come up on your phone. How do you make sure you're not going to annoy the hell out of people who are sitting on hundreds of thousands of hectares?
And that's where the value really is. It's all about the inbuilt analytics, and that's where we put all of our reinvestment in the company, goes back into that, because we want to make sure that if a kangaroo hops across your grid, you don't want to know about that. But if a road train comes across before he's expected, you really want to know about that. So same goes at the fuel or at the shed. It's all about making sure that those alerts are exactly what you need. And yeah, we get it all the time. Someone comes to us after they've tried an inferior product and they said, I'm sick of looking at the breeze blowing through or some leaves or a cockatoo walking. We said, all right, let's do it properly and make sure that the only alert you get is one that is worth stopping dinner for to have a look at.
I know on my 400 square metres in Ashgrove, we have security systems, and that's one thing we often do is trying to make it change so you don't pick up every little bit of breeze.
Pass by every
exactly,
jogger.
pass by every cat that decides to go in the backyard or something.
Exactly.
It's obviously a completely different scale when you're talking about properties of this size. Guys, how much would you say this technology has evolved in the past decade, even just the past few years?
Well, I think, you know, remote monitoring solutions, you know, since we started 7 years ago, you know, when people were saying, look, you know, I don't think we really need this. You know, we like driving around, checking things on the station. I mean, now to think we've got, you know, in excess of 20,000 sensors out in the field and growing at like 400 or 500 a month. I think there's a realisation that there is a better way, and obviously, you know, the cost of labour, the cost of fuel, the cost of wear and tear on motor vehicles, and good support from government initiatives like the On-Farm Connectivity Program, which we're involved in are have been catalysts for for adoption, and so I think it's come a very long way, and the communications options with satellite and NB-IoT are getting cheaper and more affordable, and just broader for the context of agri-tech. So I think it's going great, and this sort of innovation where collaborations between agri-techs is just going to further accelerate it, because of our thousands of customers, I can't think of one of them that wouldn't want some level of security like this on their station.
In terms of the connectivity space, what do you need to be able to make this just explode or progress even further?
4G across
Go on,
every
give us
part
your
of the
list.
company would be 4G across the whole country would make it really, really good. But at the moment, with the technology that we've got, there really is nowhere in the country we can't have a live stream security camera. Just like there's nowhere in the country that you can't have a live view of what your tank's doing. So I think we've really started to pass that stage where connectivity is the issue. There's options for everywhere with the introduction of satellite and some of the long-range wireless links that we can do. I think connectivity isn't the issue anymore.
Forgive me for the question, but we have to talk cost. We have to talk about how do farmers say, yes, absolutely, I want to be in on this. And I understand the government is now getting behind these kind of investments.
Yeah, as Andrew mentioned before, the on-farm connectivity program is still running, and that's covering 50% of the cost for a lot of on-farm technology, be it water monitoring or cameras or a lot of connectivity options, which, I mean, that is one of the best things that we've seen for the industry, just to break down those hurdles. There's a lot of people that and Farmbot would see it all the time, that they want to get into some ag tech, but they're not sure what to do. We say just grab something, grab our cheapest camera, which is about $3,500 worth, put it up at the front gate, start there. Because we know once you start there, you dip your toe in the water, then it just can evolve from there. Don't worry about necessarily jumping in and doing the entire property. If you start with something, then you can learn about it and go from there.
And I think if you think you've got, most cattle stations in Australia have got, hundreds of thousands of dollars of equipment, whether that's in the shed or around the yards, or, obviously, and the livestock themselves. So the opportunity to be able to monitor it, for minimal amounts of money and know what is happening, and know when there's a problem, I think that's just a complete game changer.
Yeah, almost the cost benefit of not doing something like this. And we talk all the time in the ag tech space, Coppo, about the cost of not being involved or avoiding ag tech. Speaking of which, you were the founding chair of the Ag Tech Association of Australia. What does ag tech need to prosper across the nation? And there's a lot of good ideas out there. How do they get to Farmbot scale?
Yeah, well, I think, look, it's amazing to be here today, and I had a walk around the tech yards earlier, and, there's 40 or 50 companies down there now. When I first came here, we were one of 4, I think. So, this innovation is growing, and, beef should be really proud of what they've done here by leading this charge. Look, I think it requires it requires continued incentive and investment from the government to help make it easy and de-risk it for the farming communities. And it requires people here at Beef to just come here, have a look around and decide to do one thing differently tomorrow. I'm just going to take one bit of technology home that's going to help me solve a problem and help me progress my operations. Because we obviously know if we do nothing differently, then we've got the status quo. So I think the opportunity for attendees at Beef this week and others that are watching online is, just try doing one thing differently this year. A lot of this technology is now really, really proven. It's not early stage, and it's scaling, and obviously every time someone does something differently, that helps another ag tech, progress their wares, employ more people and create more revenue for the country.
That's a pretty good note to end, and I think, John, Coppo, thank you so much for your time. Have a cracking week. Well, guys, we're off to a break now, but stay with us. More action-packed interviews and all the rest here on Beef TV.